While Jimmy Carter was in the U.S. Navy, he saved Canada from a nuclear disaster. And the only side effect was that he had radioactive urine. I'm Bob Summers, and this is a presidential story. In 1946, after graduating from the United States Naval Academy with distinction, Jimmy Carter joined the Navy's submarine service with specialties in engineering and electronics. Eventually, he heard about a program led by Captain, and eventually Admiral, Hyman Rickover to create nuclear-powered submarines. After being accepted to the program, he moved to the Naval Reactors branch of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission to begin development of the USS Nautilus, the first nuclear-powered submarine. The year was 1952. Jimmy Carter was 28 years old. On December 12, 1952, the NRX, or National Research Experimental Reactor at Chalk River Laboratories in Ontario, Canada, experienced a power surge that damaged the reactor. Through a combination of mechanical and human errors, the fuel rods experienced a partial meltdown, the reactor ruptured, and over 1.2 million gallons of radioactive water flooded the facility's basement. This was the first nuclear accident of this kind and scale in the world. Because this had not happened before, there were also not a lot of people qualified to clean it up. Fortunately, Lieutenant Carter was one of those people. Because of Carter's top-secret training and knowledge of nuclear energy technology, the U.S. sent him and his team of 22 by train from Schenectady, New York, where they were based at the time, to Chalk River. Once they arrived, they needed to prepare. On a nearby tennis court, they built an exact replica of the reactor down to the last detail, except for the actual nuclear material. On this tennis court, they would practice and track their progress, sprinting on and off the court to loosen bolts in seconds before exiting. Most importantly, they were able to safely shut down the reactor to prevent an even larger disaster. They were split into teams of 3 and lowered into the reactor for 90-second intervals to clean the site. This was assumed to be the maximum time humans could be exposed to those radiation levels. By today's standards, this was still too much. According to Carter in a 2008 interview, quote, "We were fairly well instructed then on what nuclear power was, but for about 6 months after that, I had radioactivity in my urine. They'd let us get probably 1,000 times more radiation than they would now. It was in the early stages, and they didn't know." The cleanup was a success. Within 14 months, the reactor was back online. It ran for decades before its retirement in March of 1993. The experience played an important part in Carter's thinking on nuclear power and warfare while he was president. According to Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, other world leaders greatly respected his knowledge on the subject. The experience also drove him toward nuclear peace with the signing of the SALT II nuclear arms limitation agreement with the Soviet Union. Carter also insisted that Vice President Walter Mondale receive full briefings on Mondale's possible role in a nuclear exchange, and was shocked to learn that no previous second-in-command had been so informed. And finally, the experience informed President Carter's response to the 1979 Three Mile Island reactor accident in Pennsylvania, the worst nuclear accident in U.S. history. Aside from 6 months of radioactive urine, it is not known whether Carter experienced any lasting effects from the exposure. But at 98 years old, it doesn't seem to have impacted his lifespan. And that's how a radioactive Lieutenant Jimmy Carter saved Canada. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to hear more presidential stories. And please visit POTUS.com for more interesting facts about the presidents.